push to unseal the Epstein files. Right now, something big is happening in Washington. The U.S. House of Representatives is preparing to vote on a bill that would force the Department of Justice to release every file, photo, email, and video connected to Jeffrey Epstein's case. For years, these materials have been kept secret under what are called protective orders. Officials say it's to protect the victim's privacy, but many survivors and their lawyers argue it's really about protecting powerful people who were close to Epstein. Now, lawmakers are saying enough is enough. They're demanding transparency. They want the public to know the full truth about what happened, who was involved, and why so much of this case has been hidden. But even if the House passes this bill, it's not a done deal. The Senate would still need to vote on it, and it's unclear if the president would sign it. So this vote is really the start of a much larger fight, not just about Epstein, but about government accountability and public trust. The Epstein case has always symbolized something bigger than one man's crimes. It exposed how wealth and influence can bend justice, how some people seem to live by a different set of rules. And when Epstein died in jail in 2019, officially ruled a suicide, it left behind a storm of suspicion and unanswered questions. Releasing the files could finally bring clarity. It could reveal how deep this network went and who might have helped cover it up. Yes, there are concerns about privacy and misinformation, but many of the victims themselves want transparency, because secrecy has only protected the wrong people. At the heart of it, this is about truth. Americans deserve to know if justice was served or if it was buried to protect the powerful. The Epstein files could be more than evidence. They could be a test of whether the U.S. still believes no one is above the law. The survivors are speaking, and they're done. Being silenced. At the heart of the Epstein case are not just the headlines or the politics, but the survivors, women like Annie Farmer, who bravely stepped forward years ago, are now demanding that the full truth finally come out. Annie recently wrote, "Survivors deserve more than a trickle of information. It's time for a full release of the Epstein files." That line hits hard. For the survivors, this isn't about media attention or political agendas. It's about justice. It's about being believed after decades of secrecy, denial, and cover-ups. These women have lived with the trauma of what happened while watching powerful people connected to Epstein walk free and stay silent. Attorney Spencer Koo, who represents several of Epstein's victims, put it clearly in a recent interview. He said that the so-called new emails now circulating aren't new at all. The victims' lawyers have known about them for years. The problem is, much of the evidence has been locked away by court orders. And then he said something that should make everyone pause. What we want are the videotapes and the photographs, the real evidence that shows who was in Epstein's homes and what they were doing there. That statement is chilling. It suggests that what we know so far might only be the surface, that the Epstein network could be even deeper and darker than the public realizes. For the survivors, seeing those files released would mean more than just exposing powerful names. It would mean validation, proof that their voices matter, and that the system can no longer protect abusers through silence. This moment isn't just about reopening old wounds. It's about accountability, truth, and giving power back to those who were once powerless. The survivors have spoken, and this time, the world needs to listen. Part 3, the political firestorm. Naturally, the push for transparency has set off a political firestorm. Members of Congress from both parties, yes, even some Republicans, have joined together to demand the DOJ release the files. But behind the scenes, there are reports that the White House has been quietly pressuring Republican lawmakers to back down. In particular, several Republican women, including Lauren Boebert, Nancy Mace, and Marjorie Taylor Greene, who signed the petition to force the vote, were reportedly called into the White House Situation Room for a private meeting with the Attorney General and the FBI Director. What was that meeting about? According to Attorney Koo, it wasn't just a briefing, it was pressure, pure political pressure, to stop them from pushing the vote forward. His reaction was blunt. It's disgusting. Anyone with a heart should want these files released. The victims want this information out there so the world can see who the perpetrators are. That word, disgusting, says it all. Because what we're seeing here is not just a legal debate. Congresswoman Adelita Grijalva, a newly sworn-in Democrat from Arizona, also joined the discussion. She was the 218th signature on the petition, the crucial one that guaranteed a vote would happen. She described how Epstein's survivors sat in the chamber as she signed her name, and she talked about how frustrated they are that people still question their credibility, even after decades of evidence. Every time they speak, she said, someone tries to discredit them, to suggest their sources aren't reliable. Imagine the courage it takes to keep speaking up anyway. Her words remind us that beyond all the headlines, this story is about human pain and resilience. Women who were silenced for years, now fighting for the truth to finally see daylight.